Ottawa Senators forward Alex Burrows has been called to an in-person hearing for his knee to the head on Devils forward Taylor Hall in last night's game. I wanted to discuss the situation and see how many games he should be suspended for. And that's coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, Senators forward Alex Burrows has been called to an in-person hearing for his multiple knees to the head against Devils forward Taylor Hall. Obviously, due to the fact that he's been called to an in-person hearing, there's two things that are certain here. One, he's definitely going to be suspended, and two, it's going to be more than 5 games. So I want to discuss the situation here with the viewers and find out what everybody thinks is the appropriate number of games for this situation. Obviously, let's take a review here of what happened. In case you did miss it, there is a link down below in the description where you can check out the play and see for yourself what went down. So basically, Taylor Hall checks Alex Burrows in the defensive zone. Pretty normal hockey hit, nothing dirty about it. Burrows did go down. Speculation during the intermission talk was that perhaps he was embarrassed because he got run over. I don't know, but there's definitely nothing about the play that should have been a penalty. There was nothing dirty. It wasn't late. It wasn't high. It wasn't boarding. There was no stick, no elbows, nothing. Absolutely nothing dirty. This hit from Taylor Hall was just a very normal, everyday hockey check that happens multiple times a game, and there's nothing anybody should do about it. But obviously, Alex Burrows in that moment in time felt differently. So he went back at Taylor Hall. They kind of, had a little bit of a shoving match, whatnot, and then the play came back down towards the net. After the whistle went, I'm not sure what it was, if the referee said something to Burrows or whatnot, but you could see his lips go, "Are you kidding me?" So he was obviously pretty upset about the fact that there was nothing called, but I'm not really sure why he thought there should be, because there was nothing really on the play that should have been penalized. But obviously in the heat of the moment, not thinking clearly, he kind of snapped here, and after the whistle went, and he kind of lost his mind basically, and he went at Taylor Hall and started throwing punches, and then they ended up wrestling on the ice. And as they were on the ice, you could see, as the picture shows here, I know it doesn't really depict it too well, but you can see the knee come down. It's on its way down because that's obviously a paused image, and he hits Taylor Hall right in the back of the head on the helmet, and he does that 2 times. So I don't know if Alex Burrows is what got into him. I mean, I know he does have a bit of a history with suspensions, but as long as he's been in an Ottawa uniform, he's been pretty good. Hasn't gotten into any trouble really. Obviously back in his days with the Canucks, he had quite a reputation and didn't, wasn't too many referees that were friends of his, that's for sure. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. He's got a checkered past, but he's been clean for a while. For probably, I don't know, say the last 2 to 3 years, he hasn't been too bad. But there was a point in time when he's quite an agitator with the Canucks. Usually it's from running his mouth that gets him in trouble. He's had run-ins with the referees before. Like, he does have a checkered past for sure, and that's obviously playing a role here and why it's an in-person hearing. Personally, I think if this was a player with no prior history and didn't have the reputation that Burrows does, I think there's still a suspension because there's a knee to the head, and it was obviously intentional. I'm not sure it's 6 or more games though. So this was really, really dumb and stupid on Burrows' part for a number of reasons. For one, it's a very unsafe play, kneeing somebody to the head. With everything we've learned now about headshots and concussions and whatnot, obviously you shouldn't be intentionally hitting any player in the head ever. I mean, I realize headshots do happen. Sometimes it's because the game is really fast and it's not intentional, but this is not one of those cases. He clearly wanted to knee him in the head, and he was successful on 2 times. Now, because of the way they were wrestled on the ice, it didn't look like he got him overly hard, but that's not the point here. The point was that he intended to knee him in the head, and he did. Obviously, between Hall's helmet and Burrow's knee pads and stuff, I'm sure that Hall seems fine. There doesn't appear to be any injury in the play. I know I saw an interview with him after the game. Like, he didn't seem like there's totally fine on that side of things, which is good. So thankfully, nothing resulted in any bad injuries or anything from the play. But at this point in the game, Ottawa's got a lead here. They've got a 3-goal lead. They're kind of cruising along. They had pretty well control of the game, and Burrows really put them in a bad spot. on this power play. He ended up getting 4 minutes, which was kind of odd. He got 2 minutes for cross-checking, I believe it was, and 2 minutes for roughing, which is weird because if you look at the image here, there's obviously a referee over top, and right after this knee comes down, when you watch the clip in the description, the referee skates right in front of him here. So I'm not sure how they could not have seen the fact that he kneed Hall in the head. So the penalty should have been more severe. Instead of getting 2 for roughing, 2 for cross-checking, they easily could have tacked on a misconduct, or they could have just thrown him out of the game. Really, like there was no reason why the penalty shouldn't have been worse. So the Senators were lucky in a sense that they didn't get a worse disadvantage here on the ice. The Devils ended up with a 4-minute power play. Back-to-back minors. They did get 1 goal scored by number 9, Taylor Hall. So a little retribution on his part. And they kind of got themselves back into the game. Now, right after that, they killed that off. A few minutes later, Ottawa took another penalty. They were able to kill that off. And as Zach Smith, who was a penalized player, came under the ice, received a breakaway pass, and went down and scored and restored the 3-goal lead. And everything seemed to kind of go well for Ottawa from that point on in the game. So Burrows is really lucky here that this penalty didn't come back, not only to bite him suspension-wise, but to really cost his team. I mean, obviously, I realize where the Senators are in the standings. It's not going to make a whole heck of a difference here in the grand scheme of things. But still, it's one of those things that if you want to really have your teammates' backs and be a leader and all those qualities that they expect from him, that's not the type of things that you do, because you're putting your team in a bad position and you're doing it for no good reason, for completely dumb reasons, and losing your mind. So if you can't be stable on the ice, then you don't deserve to be in the lineup, and it's just that simple. So there's absolutely no way I can sit here and defend Alex Burrows. It was a completely stupid play. There's no need of it. He did not need to do what he did. He lost his mind over getting a clean body check. Like I said, on the intermission, the panel discussed and speculated that maybe he felt embarrassed because he got hit so good. I don't know, maybe, but if that's the case and you can't, you can't recover from a play, like, what you do, the normal thing to do would be, okay, you take a number, you see who hit you, and when you have the opportunity to get him back cleanly in a regular hockey hit, you take advantage of that. But you don't go around losing your mind, acting like an idiot on the ice, kneeing people in the head. Completely stupid. Completely stupid. I cannot defend Alex Burrows, and I don't intend to. Now, the odds are, obviously, with this in-person hearing, it's going to be 6+ games. So what I want to hear from you, from the comments, is how many games should this be? And the other comment I want from you is, would the amount of games here be different or less severe if it was a different player with a not so checkered history, or if they had a clean history? I think that would be the case myself. I mean, I think it's because of his past is going to play a bigger role here in the number of games. Because if you look at Brad Marchand recently, let's go back to Marchand for his little chicken wing elbow to Marcus Johansson in New Jersey. We've done a couple of videos on here. We've discussed it at great length. I know a lot of you agree with me, and there's a lot of fans, mainly Bruins fans, who disagree with me on that call, that he shouldn't have been suspended, it was too harsh, whatever. But you know what? If you look at their history, you could argue Brad Marchand has just as bad a history than Alex Burrows, if not worse, and he got 5 games for an elbow, like basically a flying elbow to the head. Now, this was a lot less severe, so I mean, it's a little bit easier to say it was intentional, I guess. But once again, as much as I'm not going to defend Alex Burrows, because I can't and I won't, however, I think this is still another case of the NHL being inconsistent. I mean, if you look at the other calls we've seen lately, the other suspensions and the non-suspensions of the plays where we've reviewed here, where there's been not even a hearing held. It just seems really weird. And why was there no major penalty on the play? Like, he could have been given the 2 minors and maybe tacked on misconduct. Like, they should have thrown him out of the game. Like, do we see too many cases where it's a minor penalty or no penalty on the ice, but yet it ends up with a significant suspension afterwards? So that clearly goes to show that the referees are missing things. And in this particular case, I can't defend the referees either, because there's a referee right on top of them, for one. And then if you watch the play, just as soon as you see this clip of the knee coming down, you see a referee skate right here, just because he comes down with a second knee too. So it's very clear. I don't see how the referees could have not seen it. So why they didn't punish him more severely at that given time, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. So leave some comments down below. How many games do you think it's going to be? Personally, I don't think it's going to be any more than 6. I think with 6 being the minimum that's going to be allowed in this scenario, I think that's probably what it's going to end up being. And like I said, I can't defend Burrows, and I think if it was a different player, it might be a little less severe. But the fact is, Burrows has a checkered history, obviously hasn't learned from it, needs to be able to control his temper and his mouth, and he's yet to be able to do that, so I can't imagine he'll ever change. And maybe with any luck, he'll be out of the league sooner rather than later. Don't forget as well to follow us on Twitter. You're going to see our Twitter handle right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. All those links are down in the description down below, so check those accounts out. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.